Welcome to the Bloody Mary podcast, where we talk about all things horror while drinking a Bloody Mary. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Tami, and we are totally married. We got our Bloody Marys, and tonight we have a Fright Fight.
Yeah.
But before we get into the battle of these slasher flicks, let's plug our stuff.
Yep. We have an Amazon wish list. Go to that bitch. We got. We could use some support. We have small things there like Bloody Mary mixes, all the way up to like some expensive stuff, which is some gear we could use for the podcast. That would really help us out if you like what we do. And then if you buy us something, we'll have it here on the next episode or a future episode and give you a shout out.
We'll give you a shout out. And you can also go to bloodymarypodcast.com. We got some t-shirts, we got some hats, and some other rad shit. So check us out.
Do it.
All right.
Cool. So with Fright Fight, it's simple but fun. We pair two horror movies or two horror franchises against each other mano a mano, state the pros and cons of each, then decide which one we think is the winner and why. And with that, welcome to Fright Fight. Yeah. Yeah. Tonight we're going college versus high school with The House on Sorority Row and the Remake Sorority Row versus Prom Night and the Remake Prom Night.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah, we thought these would be a fun fit because both originals came out around the same time. Prom Night, 1980, The House on Sorority Row, 1983, and the remakes, Prom Night came out in 2008 and Sorority Row came out in 2009. And I know Prom Night did like 4 or 5 in between, but I thought it would be fun to take the original and the remake and do those. And they both share similarities. Like they both have an accidental kind of death or prank that goes wrong, aside from the Prom Night remake. but the rest of them all like kind of share a similar formula.
Right, they do.
Yeah, they're classic slasher shenanigans, hot babes, and sweet cargo vans galore in these.
There is.
So this is going to be a fun one.
I know, I'm excited.
Yeah. And one thing, too, we started this, I don't know, it was like a week ago. You just put on the Sorority Row remake to watch.
I just wanted to watch it. Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't seen this in a while. I remember it being fun. And we watched it, and then it was like, I haven't seen the original. And so The House on Sorority Row, I had just watched and I'd never seen before. So this is one of the ones that had kind of slipped through the cracks for me. So it was really fun to watch it. I'd never seen it before.
I hadn't either.
I've seen the rest of them, but not that one. So that was kind of a pleasant surprise.
I the same. I saw the others, and I mean their remake Sorority Row, I think I fell asleep to a couple of times before I even made it through because I would sometimes fall asleep to it. So I was like, I need to watch it and watch the whole thing and be awake for it.
Yeah.
Because it was fun. But it was really fun to watch the original.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump into it.
All right. Let's go.
So we're going to start with The House on Sorority Row. The House on Sorority Row came out in 1983, directed by Mark Roseman. He directed another horror movie shortly after called Mutant. And then after that, he jumped into a lot of kids' TV and a lot of kids' films. He did.
But he also produced the remake.
He did. And he co-wrote it or he wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's mostly just jumped into the family-friendly kids side of things after getting his start doing some horror, which I find to be really interesting.
That is really interesting.
So let's just jump into the pros of this movie. It has a fantastic score.
It does.
I have to say that I watched it with headphones on, and so I was really immersed in the score. And the score on this, it's just fantastic. It was really good for the time. Yeah.
I really just loved Mrs. Slater. I loved her entrance. I loved the look of her cane, just all of it. This head to toe. I fucking loved that look.
Yeah. So hang on one second. Let's travel back in time here. And in case you haven't seen
1983.
House on Sorority Row, this is what it's about. After a seemingly innocent prank goes horribly wrong, a group of sorority sisters are stalked and murdered one by one in their sorority house while throwing a party to celebrate their graduation. So that's the plot. All right, back to it.
All right.
I think this had mostly good directing. I think it had fun cinematography and fun editing. They did a lot of cool like match cuts and sound bridges. Like there's one scene in particular where a gunshot goes off and then they cut to a champagne bottle popping. And there's like a lot of fun stuff like that. And then there is a scene shortly after like the incident where they're all at the party. And it's a one shot take, and there's like, I don't know, they're going through at least like 6 characters. They're on one lady's face, and they're moving through the crowd, and they rack focus to another person's face, rack focus and move to another person's face. I thought that was really cool.
That was a cool shot.
I'm like, God, they had to have rehearsed that bitch a lot.
Because you like see the other, and then it just, yeah.
And I think, I don't know, like camera tricks, but I think they did a whole 360.
I think they did.
Which is crazy. Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun. Vicky's titties.
Vicky's titties.
So all of these, for the most part, are just these movies have babes in them.
Oh, total
like
babes.
Banging babes.
Yeah.
And the House on Sorority Row is no exception. So Vicky was my favorite character. She was sexy and she was a lot of fun.
She was.
I liked her a lot.
I liked Morgan was my favorite.
Which one was that? Was that the lead?
No, it was the one I sent you with the prom dress with the very deep
so she had the sexy black dress, the lipstick, the makeup, the blonde hair, boom. Yeah, she was good too.
And what I totally have in my notes, Vicky's titties.
Yeah, see? Vicky's titties.
And she had a waterbed. She had a waterbed.
Waterbed. She had great areolas. So
she went on to do a lot of daytime television. Days of Our Lives.
I looked up her IMDb and it was like,
Young
I don't
and the
know,
Restless.
2,800 episodes of whatever.
Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, something like that.
I watched it back in the 90s when she was on it.
Oh my God. So you have a connection to Vicky.
I do. I was like, wait. When I watched it, I was like, not General Hospital. I had to look her up and I was like, Days of Our Lives.
There's a sweet van in this. I love, sweet vans in 80s horror. And so that was pretty cool.
That is. I liked the kills. They were fun.
For the most part. I liked about half of them.
My favorite part, I think, was when they were, when she was up in the attic and she was by the jester costume, like the full jester Jack costume, which she had seen previously and no one was in it. Yeah. But then, then he was in. Yeah. That was a really cool. I really like that.
It was cool. I wish I would have seen this movie when I was younger because I expected that.
Oh, I totally expected it coming.
Cool.
But it was still cool.
Yeah.
I didn't like. Oh, can we?
No, we're in pros now, honey.
Sorry.
We're still in pros. I like a lot of the cool kills. I think the first one was really good because they used a fake head. Like right. I thought that was a lot of fun. I liked it was really just simple, subtle things. Like I like how in the pool scenes at night it was lit green. Mm-hmm. I liked when the fat guy jumped in and they came to see him. He's like, "I'm a sea pig." I was like, "This is my favorite quote of the whole film."
And they're like, run out there like, oh shit.
Yeah.
He's just in there like, I'm a sea pig.
What I liked about this is, so they do a prank on their house mother, and they accidentally kill her.
Right.
And the party is happening right then. So it's an immediate cover-up. So it's not like some other ones like we get into like Prom Night or the Remake or the, I Know What You Did Last Summer's where this event happens and then you flash forward.
Right. It
this
was like
all
then.
was right then.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, I can see most of like, I can get behind making like some irrational decisions from like your main character, like people going along with it because you're in this heightened sense of we just killed someone, your adrenaline's going.
People are pulling up.
So what do you do? So,
right.
I mean, there's a lot more give with the main character of should she call the police? Who should she call? What should she do? Like if this was like years later, okay, that's really stupid. But in the moment, I think it was a good choice just directorially to like make her weird choices sometimes a little more acceptable.
Yeah, agreed. But I can't.
Hang on,
yes. I'm sorry.
I think I loved when you see the killer, you see him once, and it's a far away shot, and you see his face, and it was really disturbing to me. I was like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and it was something I didn't see coming really, because like I was texting you when I was watching, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's totally her blind date guy. It's one of the babies, like
Yeah, who
that
the killer
I guessed,
is.
but
Yeah.
I didn't. But it was totally like it's a wrong turn type person.
Yeah. Oh, and we're gonna spoil. This movie is 40 years old, so I don't give a
was
fuck.
1,
so
so if you haven't seen it and we spoiled it,
so there's spoilers for this shit. Everything we're talking about. But the killer was like just what you thought it was. Well, not really. It was. It wasn't anyone there. It was an external kind of force. It was.
Right.
A wrong turn, Friday the 13th, Jason deformed mutant.
right.
Yeah.
And that I didn't see coming. I thought it was.
I
Like,
saw his face. I'm
guessed-
like, oh, fuck.
Like I guessed it was one of the babies. It was a boy.
I thought it was going to be one of the male characters.
So did I.
Yeah.
And so I was like trying to predict. I did not see just. And then I was
Yeah.
like, wait, did we even see his face? Because I like looked away for a
Yeah.
second, and that was when I had to rewind and go back.
Yeah. Well, that sucks because you missed a moment because I was engrossed in it. I think it had a fun climax and finale, even though the finale was a little cheesy with the eyes popping open. But, that was what you did back then. Like the most famous for me eye pop open was in Friday the 13th, part 6, where his eyes open up under the water and you're totally expecting it. It's like you want it to happen.
Right.
Yeah. Overall, I thought this was a real fun treat.
It was.
Did you like it?
No, I did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun. Some of the things are like, what is happening?
Oh, there's a lot of fun. Like, we'll get in some. Let's jump into some cons here. As much as I like some of the directing, some of it's bad, and some of the acting's pretty bad. There's like this.
Oh my God.
There's this pre-mid 80s over the top dramatic theater acting that like happened before, like, I don't know, 85, 86 in horror films, where they were just so dramatic still and
Right.
so over the top, and it just it gets weird because you get a mix of like people playing it how you should and then these weird over the top things.
I think my girl Morgan was that one where she was.
Yeah.
What did she say? Like, how do we know that he exists? Or like
Yeah,
something like.
there's a lot of that.
Like, so I'm like, what is happening? And then she had that dress on and it was
Morgan
fine.
looked good, but her lines were weird.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
there's that one moment where she was like singing to herself in the closet, like, "Oh, I'm promin," or it was something weird. I don't know. It was bizarre.
Well, and then when they drop the body and they're like, Morgan, go, go, hurry. And she did not. She was like slow pacing
was
it. Like
she?
she had no hustle. Like you just threw a lady in the pool and the band is pulling up, ma'am, you need to go.
That's awesome.
And she just slow walking.
She's probably tired in real life. One thing that took me out of some of it, not took me out of it, it was just the house mother. All of her lines were ADR. None of that was her.
Oh, yeah. So I read the trivia and they said it was all ADR because he liked her look and he liked her in general, but he didn't like her voice. It was too high. And so he had dubbed it over with someone else's voice because he didn't think it was creepy enough.
Well, time did not hold up with that.
Yeah, it didn't.
I would beg to differ that whatever her voice was fine. I think for me, the only way I would have ADR'd that is if it's like a really heavy accent and you can't make out what the person's saying,
Right.
or they don't enunciate properly.
Because she could
Then
have
you
dropped
get
her
in,
voice
like
some octaves and
well, it just removes you from the character.
Yeah.
Like, and also, she's not that. Like, it doesn't matter. She's not
It's
too
still not
threatening,
creepy or-
anyways.
right.
Yeah.
I
So
loved her look though.
her look was cool. I liked her cane.
It makes me want to have a cane like that.
I thought the
have
cane
to-
was a cool weapon to use to go around and kill people with. God, it's just, it would have been cool to like been around, born like 10 or 20 years ago and been around to like see this in the theater. And because like a lot of the tropes in here were probably like brand newish, and same with Prom Night, to where like now we're used to things that are happening. So it's like, it's either going to be A or B that's happening here.
Right.
It's either going to like, I would imagine like the killer going around with that cane. Back then, you're probably more along the lines of thinking it's still her. So it would have been nice to see it back, or just when I was younger as a kid.
Right. We need to talk about this dumpster scene
Okay.
because
We'll talk about the dumpster scene. Yes, the dumpster scene was hilarious, and it was so dumb.
It was dumb.
So they dumped a body in a big dumpster, and then they wanted to push it to a location that was far away. So it was like 3 girls pushing this dumpster, and they're pushing it, and they're going
down the street.
And they're down the street, and they're having, vocal this loud of conversations, and then suddenly it's like, oh.
And they look, and it's a fucking cop. They hit a cop car.
They hit a cop car
with a dumpster.
Yes.
What?
And the cop comes out, and he's like, "What are you doing? You didn't see me?" And they're like, "What? We didn't see you." Like, how would you not know? Like, there's no way. Like
you could hear it coming.
Like if you were the
from
cop,
a mile away.
How would you not see slowly a dumpster
Being
coming down the road with girls going up until and as slow as they were going, it would even 5 feet. You'd be like, "What?" And
what?
you would have said
get out
something.
And be like, "Hey, do you need help? Like you're gonna hit my car." Something.
See,
and also, girls, how do you not see a cop car right there?
I can get behind that because their heads were down and they're pushing it. I understand that. I don't understand how the cop didn't see it. How you fix that is you have one scene of when it hits and the guy is asleep in the car and he wakes up.
Yeah, that would have been better.
It's just a simple fix, anything.
But
or it's also like they kind of played it like they hit each other like he was driving.
Kind of, yeah. Like what is happening?
But there wasn't enough it was weird. It was a weird scene, and that was on the day not knowing what to do. Really, and when you're making the movie, you're like, how do we do this? I don't know. Just have them hit each other. Figure it out. Fix it in post.
Right.
That was idiotic, but I think the most idiotic thing in this was the shooting sequence.
Oh my god.
So
not Vicky the crack shot. Or the other girl.
So they get the house mother, fucks with them. So they want to do a prank on her, and she has a gun from her boyfriend, a handgun, and
she ripped her waterbed.
Yeah, and so she gets her down to the pool, and she's putting the gun on the house mother, and she's like, "Get in the pool, and it's a dirty pool. Get in there and swim, or I'm gonna fucking shoot you."
And get your cane, yeah.
And so what she does is she takes a gun and she shoots it at the light, and the light shatters, meaning she has a live round in there. And then she fakes a shot with her friend and has fake blood, so that's a blank. And then she puts it to the house mother and shoots a couple times with 2 or 3 blanks. And then somehow the gun accidentally goes off with a live round and kills her. And so you're planning this thing, you're loading your magazine. You're
fake, real.
And so in the top, you'd have to load a live round, and then you put in a fake, we're going to do this, a fake, we're going to do this, we're fake, we're going to do this, and then we're going to put, unless she's just dumb and there's no way that whole thing would have happened. And that was just, I guarantee you that's filmmakers not knowing really how guns work or how a scene works. And they were probably really young too, but it was weird.
But also that's a prank. I'm gonna I put your cane. You ripped my waterbed, bitch. So I'm gonna put your cane in the pool, and then I'm gonna pull a gun on you. And
rip the waterbed and interrupt their bang session is the most. They needed to get off.
Threatened to shoot you.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What kind of prank is this sorority? Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, we'll get to the Sorority Row remake, but I mean, was that prank any less or more?
No, I'm just saying those two sororities are what the fuck is wrong with you?
So it was so bizarre that how just the gunplay in that was really weird. Yeah.
It was. Also, and I know you liked the quick reveal, but I wanted a little bit more of the killer. Just a little bit besides that one shot real quick with his face.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a little bit better for me.
Yeah, I can see that, but I really dug the far away, you get one look at me, and then the rest of it. What I would have liked is more of the killer in the clown outfit.
Ooh, yeah.
I think after the gesture thing, or that he was, no, because it's a reveal that in the moment. Like,
Yeah.
it would have been cool to have, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a chase with that outfit on, because I think that outfit was pretty creepy.
It was creepy. One of my least favorite things about this movie was the lead singer of the band and his fucking bobblehead that he was just like,
He didn't like that?
like, stop moving your fucking head. I could not stand it. Every time they were on him, he's just like, stop.
Okay,
Stop.
I'm going to jump back into a pro because I forgot about that. I love the band aspect of it, and that was an actual band, and the music was sick.
I liked the band and the music. Every time it flashed to his face and he just fucking bobblehead, head just wouldn't stop fucking moving, and I hated
That's
it.
the cocaine and the rocking.
No.
I disagree.
Because his other bandmates were rocking too, and their heads were moving around.
I'm going to put that in my next movie, and it's going to be wiggling.
Oh, fuck.
As much as I like understand like directing and how to put a scene together, some of the kill scenes and the action sequences were pretty lame.
Yeah.
Like, there is one chase towards like the end of it. I think it's the one lady who fought him off and then ended up getting killed in the bathroom. Her whole thing was pretty weird, and she fell weird, and it was edited together poorly.
Right. I did like the head in the toilet, though.
That was cool.
That was cool.
The like after reveal, the head in the toilet was pretty rad. I did like that.
I do like a good decapitation.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably like for me
And also,
most of the negatives.
like, I know that they had to hurry because the band was pulling up, but who grab a bunch of towels and blankets and will wrap her up and throw her in a pool? It should be fine. She'll sink. What? No.
Yeah, so they wanted to sink. The body, and their solution was, okay, go grab some towels.
Go grab
and
another blanket, and they just wrapped her up with extra towels and blankets.
Yeah, I expected that to be okay. That's what we're wrapping her up with, but how are we sinking her? They just
sink her. No, that they were like, all the water will make it really heavy, and then like it will sink to the bottom. That's what I feel like that thought process was there.
Yeah, and again, there's like in retrospect, there's probably fixes to make that. Maybe one person chimes in like, I don't think that's gonna sink, and then they like try it, and then it goes, and then they're like
something like.
But it did sink temporarily.
A brick on her, like just something.
Yeah.
Jeez, ladies,
Yeah.
we are not smart here.
No, towels don't sink people.
Towels don't sink dead bodies. Let that be known.
Let this be a public service announcement. If you're gonna wrap and throw a body in a pool,
don't wrap it. Weight it down.
Yeah, weight it down.
Puncture the lungs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Puncture the lungs. I didn't know that.
Did you not watch the second one? Okay, we'll get to that. Never mind. We'll get to that.
There was no pool in the second one.
No, but they were. Never mind.
What?
We'll get to it.
Okay, we're gonna move into it. Okay. So that one I thought it was a lot of fun. A House on Sorority Row, and also it has it's my favorite cover art.
That has a great cover art.
And it's really cool. It's really simple. If you're watching, check it out. Oh, we'll put a thing in there too.
Right.
So the remake, Sorority Row got a remake in 2009, and the director is Stuart Hendler. He did some odd stuff, not really in line with Sorority Row. He did like Max Steel recently. He did an episode of Superman and Lois, and I saw that he did 54 episodes of some kind of show called H+. I'm not really familiar with a lot of his work. I think he's the one. No, he's not. Okay, moving on. I saw this one when it came out. I rented it, and I thought it was fun. Mm-hmm. And then I think the second time I watched it was when we watched it. I'm like, oh, this is still pretty fun for the most part. So the pros again with this one, much like that one, there's a lot of hot babes.
There is a lot of hot babes.
There's a lot of hot babes for sure. I think it's generally it's a slick slasher looking.
Yeah.
For the most part. And it was a pleasant surprise during the time because I talk about this quite a bit, but this is 2009 and horror is in a weird spot. Like there hasn't I don't think the 2000s really had a thing.
The early aughts.
Like 80s had a thing, the 90s had a thing. Early aughts were kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what was around then, like 2008, 2009, maybe The Conjuring, but I feel like that's 2010-ish. Maybe a Ring 2. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But But I think what they were doing around this time was like shotgunning different things because this was just a slasher flick.
It was.
And they weren't popular. And I don't know if this did well. I'm assuming it didn't in theater and box office. I think we were like getting off of Saws and Hostels, or we were still in the torture porn, or it was coming to an end. It was running out of steam at the moment, so they're trying to find something. Yeah, so it's a really interesting era for me, and this just was one of those that I think got a little lost in the mix.
Yeah, because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the weapon, the modified.
The weapon was cool. It's a cross tire iron, which exists, but it was modified.
With a blade.
When the killer starts killing people, there's like a blade on it, and it's sharpened, and maybe some other blade. It was cool.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was fun. I really enjoyed that that weapon.
It was
because that was something that wasn't a knife. It was something that wasn't a hook or you know.
And he used it as like a big.
Like he would throw it.
A
he
big
would,
ninja
like,
star.
Yeah. And it was funny. I hate to say it, but Jessica, the main character, whom she
the
was
bitch?
the bitchy one. She was on a show called Vampire Diaries that I watched, and the original, spinoff. Anyways, I fucking hated her. Couldn't stand that character. Wanted her to die every time, every season, until she finally fucking died. And then I was like, well, maybe it's just the character. It's not the character. It's her. It's fucking her. It's like the Andrew Lincoln thing. Like, I just don't like your voice or your face. And
we're still in the pros here?
Yes. But my pro is she was really funny.
Yeah.
She, like, the end of the movie, she had some great one-liners.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was I hate to say it, but like,
gotcha.
She was it was funny at the end. We were laughing a lot because of the shit that she was saying.
Yeah, she was like one of the highlights for me. God, I love. They almost stuck the landing with her character. So I love that she's the bitch, and the bitch / jock. No, you're not supposed to like her. And then as the film goes, she suddenly like kind of becomes almost buddy with your main character. They're like Riggs and Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon going back and forth, and they're having this really great banter.
Yeah.
And they're on the opposite sides. Like your main character is trying to get on the straight and narrow, and she's like the bitch from hell. But they combined forces, and their personalities really worked well together.
They did.
And they almost stuck the landing. I guess I'm dipping into a little negative here. Like, I wanted her to live. I really wanted her to be the survivor, to like complete the arc, because I don't think, maybe I've seen it once in slasher films where you start with a douche or a jock and they have an arc and they survive and you're happy that they survived.
Right.
Almost with her. Almost.
See, I was super excited that she died. I mean, she was funny and she had some great lines, but I was waiting for her to die. But every time I watch her, I
Rumor Willis survived, and she didn't do anything in the movie. All she did
was scream.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite kill though was the wine bottle.
Oh, that was good.
Great.
Yeah, where she shoved
Chugs.
it.
Chugs is the girl's name.
Oh yeah, Chugs was good.
And then like just. Yeah. And then the gurgling of the blood coming up.
Shove it down in the mouth, down the throat, and then they cut to like a prosthetic head, which was really cool. And yeah, it was pretty brutal and a lot of fun. I liked that kill a lot.
That was a great kill. I enjoyed that kill quite a bit.
So we'll go back in time. Let me do the summary for this one.
Go back in time.
So Sorority Row. Much like the first one, a group of sorority sisters try to cover up the death of their house sister after a prank goes wrong, only to be stalked by a serial killer. And so, unlike the original where they accidentally kill the house mother and then they have to hide the body and deal with everything on the day, this one, I believe, jumps at least 6 months into the future, if not a year.
Yeah, like 16 months. Like
it jumps quite a while.
Graduation.
Yeah.
So, like, they have a whole school year, like 15 months or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That. Yeah.
And then it's like I Know What You Did Last Summer, where suddenly they start getting phone calls and things like that.
Text messages.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm thinking of like, no, I Know What You Did Last Summers and okay, well, we'll wait till we get in the cons.
Right. And, and I liked it was pretty fast paced. Like, it kept its pace. You were not like moments that were dragging or you were bored or anything like that.
It was pretty fast paced. Most people were fun to watch. It was pretty slick for its time. It wasn't bad by any means. I'd say at the worst, it's just an average horror film.
Right.
For sure. Any cons? Want to get into some cons?
Let's get into cons.
Well, when we talked about it, I would rather that the bitch lady survived, for sure. Carrie Fisher is in this, and she is completely wasted.
Oh my God, so underutilized.
They ditched the house mother character for the most part, and she's in like 2 scenes. And she should have been in more of the film. She should have been in a bigger part of the film. But she shows up at the beginning and says a line or two like
don't wreck my house.
Get out of my kitchen.
Yeah.
And then she shows up at the end with a shotgun and then just dies.
Right.
And
because he ninja starred that thing,
yeah.
and then because he has blades on one end and blade on another, and then pushed the table and killed her.
which I like Sorority Row a little less now that I've seen the original, because now I'm disappointed that they didn't use her more as like a red herring, because if you were a fan of the original, you're okay, maybe they're doing something with her. So I really think that they should have used her more, had her in more scenes, and gave her a little bit more of a red herring. But maybe it was something like, we can get Carrie Fisher, but we can only get her for a day.
Right.
So I don't know.
She wants to die quick.
Yeah.
Like, she probably was like, sure, I'll do it, but I want to die, and I want to die quick.
Yeah. And another big thing is I think the killer was stupid and the reveal was dumb of who the killer was and the motive.
It really was, and I called it. Like, I was like, oh, as soon as he flashed on the screen, I was like, that dude from Pretty Little Liars, and his accent keeps slipping because I believe he's English.
And I think he was in Cry Wolf.
Yes.
Yeah.
So his American accent kept like coming in and out there. And as soon as he popped up, I was like, oh, that bitch is the killer.
Yeah.
And his whole motive was like, they told me, and I was just trying to, help you out.
Just so we can be together.
So we can be together.
He was a killer as well. I don't know. He was just a serial killer.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was weird. It didn't make much sense. I didn't enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like, okay, have you always been a killer? Or are you just like, oh, my girlfriend accidentally killed someone?
Yeah. So he wanted to go around and kill everyone that knew that they did this thing so he could be with her.
Right.
So in his head,
she could be happy and they could go.
But then he like went after her on the turn of a dime. So like.
Because she was like, no, you're crazy.
Yeah.
You just killed all those people.
So one thing I have, like, with this movie and with other movies like this, like I Know What You Did Last Summer, where there's an incident and a cover-up, and then you flash forward years later, somebody would have had to have went to the police or done something. Like, why would all of you keep it secret?
Right.
Somebody, like, wouldn't someone...
Yeah, and they all seem they seem a little more well adjusted. Like, we did this thing and we're kind of,
and it's not like it's like a brother and sister that did something, or like some really close friends. It's like sorority sisters that you might have known for a little bit.
Right. It was just strange.
Yeah.
And I mean, here's another sorority prank. Like, the girl...
Oh, the prank. Yeah, what was the prank?
The girl was like, her boyfriend had cheated on her. Mm-hmm. And you don't cheat on a Delta or a Kappa or Beta Phi, I don't know. And a Beta, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they give the boy fake roofies. They pretend to drug her.
Yep.
And then take her out and then pretend the whole time that she OD'd and then they had to bury the body.
So the prank is on the guy. So they're making him think... That he drugged her?
That the roofies that he slipped her to have sex with her.
Killed her. That the other house girls said to drug her.
His sister gave him the drugs to drug her sister.
Even talking about it, it's so convoluted. So, yeah, they fake drug a girl and he bangs her, but she wasn't really drugged. She pretended to be drugged.
And so my point earlier was when you stab him in the lungs, that was in this one. They're like, we're going to have to puncture the lungs because we have to throw her in the lake and she's got to sink and we can't have the air bubbles in the lungs. And that's why he took the tire iron and shoved it in her lungs. Because he goes, oh, I did it. And that really killed her.
I thought they were always going to throw her in the well. I never saw a lake. Were they by a lake?
They were at a lake.
Oh, gotcha.
And so that's why I was like... Oh, and I think in my notes I put, they learned from the first movie because the guy that directed the first movie produced it.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That's funny. Yeah, yeah, and then then he actually does kill her.
And he's
Yeah.
super messed up after that, and then he goes and like tries to kill himself. And...
Well, also he seems to be the only one who was messed up after that because so it doesn't even like the lady who is like trying to your main character. What you got like zero remorse from all of these girls.
Right.
Like if nothing would have happened to them, they would have went on there with their lives and been fine.
Right.
Like no one was like ruined because of the event. They
Jessica wants to be a senator's wife, so
they were all still fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, they told people, like, Jessica told her boyfriend,
Yeah.
the senator's son, Ellie, Rumor Willis, who, by the way, she just screamed the entire movie and was so annoying, told the killer, and that's how he knew, because she got drunk and told the killer.
Okay, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
they were just blabbing their fucking mouths all over the place.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like...
But don't go to the cops. Don't go to the cops, but I'm going to tell this guy, and I'm going to tell this guy, and I'm going to tell that person?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Oh
yeah,
my God, so stupid.
So, like, and I know what you did last summer. Like, your main character, Jennifer Love Hewitt, she was a little more torn up, right?
She was, yeah.
Yeah, but no one was, like, devastated.
No.
That's so weird. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Yeah, I don't think it's as good as the original, but it's a fun watch, for sure. Do you have any more cons before we move on?
Let me double check. No, I think I named them all.
Cool.
Didn't like Jessica. I was happy she died.
Yeah.
But she was funny. Rumor was annoying.
Well, let's move on to Prom Night. And guess what?
right.
I'm going to do the summary before we start talking about it.
Oh, what?
So Prom Night is 1980. It came out in 1980. So this was the first one. Hang on, my notes. Okay, there we are. Prom Night 1980, directed by Paul Lynch, and he directed lots of stuff. Mm-hmm. That's what I have written down here. So Prom Night was one of the OG slashers. And it's at a high school senior prom, a mass killer stalks 4 teenagers who were responsible for the accidental death of a classmate 6 years previously. Mm-hmm. And when I saw, okay, well, just before we get into things, but when I saw it's only 6 years, it's like they looked like they were 5, and now suddenly they look like they're 30. So 6 years, okay, whatever.
Agreed. Like, what?
So it's like the same plot, but it's a lot younger. So it's the kids kill someone with a prank. But they were all like, they looked like they were, I don't know, 10 years old.
It looked like they were 10, yeah.
And they kind of accidentally.
I don't think they did.
They were like really bullying someone. And
they were playing a game called The Killer's Gonna Get Ya.
Yeah. Kill.
The
And they were
killer's
surrounding her to the window, and then she fell out the window, and then
like they're
she died.
10.
Yeah.
They're fucking 10-year-olds.
They're all psychos.
And they're psychos. They're all like playing this, like, what? Hey, you want to play a game? Yeah. What game do you want to play? The killer's coming to get you. Okay. And then they just cornered this little girl who didn't want to play this game.
Yeah.
And then they just kill her.
Yeah.
They killed her.
So anyways, the pros. Let's get into the pros. Again.
The creepy kids were a pro. Like, that was a good, like, that was a creepy start, quite frankly. Like, you don't expect little kids to be... It's one thing to, like, oh, we were playing and she fell and it was an accident.
Yeah.
No, like, they legit They were fucking creepy.
They were? Yeah.
So I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked that opening.
All right, that's going to fall into a con for me, so if that's a pro for you, more power to you.
All right. I liked the creepy kids.
Yeah. I did not. I think it just went against the rest of the film with the characters.
Yeah. I can see that.
But the pros for me, again, sexy babes. You have a scene with Jamie Lee and her bra and her shirt's open.
She looked
and
hot.
just like one coming out the door like, hey, what's up? Is there a killer out here? And then you saw some other boobs too, but it was kind of like a sad situation. But the highlight was, Jamie Lee and some other sexy babes.
Yeah.
For sure.
There was a nice butt in that.
That,
there was some mooning.
There was mooning.
When people used to moon, who does that?
The tennis outfits. All these gals were playing tennis, and then she sees like the janitor gardener, and then she moons him. Mm-hmm. So you got to see some hot teen butt.
Oh, what about the drive-in food place? That outfit.
I have that written down.
So do I.
Pink shorts, pink socks, heeled waitress. Yes. Wow. There's some good outfits. So that was a lot of fun. And another sweet van. There is another really cool van.
Super sweet van.
With one of my favorite characters with the guy who drove the van. And I was really sad that... So this guy, he's like a short, not a husky guy, curly hair, dorkier.
Yeah.
like rolls up to like one of the main characters in the beginning of the film, is like, hey, you need a ride? And she's like, sure, and hops in just with a stranger in the van, and then they hit it off and they go to the prom together.
Like, she literally says, this morning I didn't even know you. And then I thought I was not going to have a date for the prom. Here I am having a date for a prom and banging in the back of the van. We've both never done it. We did it. This is a great night.
Yeah. Like, and then she's like, let's go bang by the bluff. Let's go do some more banging.
She's like, this is great.
Those were my favorite characters, and I was really sad that both of them died.
The van that drove off a cliff and started on fire.
Okay, so that's a half a pro, half a con. So the van, he's like driving the van around the woods, the bluff, because the killer's chasing him.
That was a fun little scene.
Yeah, for the most part. But then he like goes off the cliff, and so he just goes off, and it explodes midair for no reason.
It does.
And then just goes like there's no reason it should explode.
No.
It's like, did the killer plant a bomb? That's the only way that would explode.
They're like, we got a van, but we got to explode it.
If the killer like hucked some C4 again, like, you know, if you're the editor or filmmaker, it's like, we got to have a scene of him planting C4 in this van to make it work. But that was back in the day where shit just exploded for no reason.
Well, they're like, well, we only got one take because we exploded the van, so we got to take it.
And again, I can see the curious be like, the filmmakers be like, you want to blow up the van? Yeah, let's blow up the van. Why is it blowing up? I don't care. We're blowing it up.
There is a sweet decapitation scene with a head rolling down and the disc of unibrow 30-year-old Guido Liu.
Yeah. Who's an odd choice for casting. Tell you that.
Like, he shows up and I'm like, I put in my notes, what the fuck? Is he 30? He's smoking?
There's like,
he's got one eyebrow.
You know, when I'm like writing something and I'm thinking, you know, okay, maybe like I'm thinking of people who could play these roles. And I'm like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. Because in the 80s, it was just, you hired 45-year-old men to play college or high schoolers.
This is high school, too. Yeah. They all looked like they...
Yeah, but anyways, that scene was really good. His head got cut off towards the end. It rolled out to the disco floor.
The lights.
That's one of my positives. My positives is the climax moment where his head gets cut off, and then the whole crowd goes crazy, and then he runs out. That was a fun kind of reveal moment and stuff for me.
And I didn't call the killer. Like, I thought I knew who it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wrong.
Who'd you think it was then?
I thought it might have been the dad.
Okay, yeah. So this is a problem I have. Well, we can get into cons here, I guess. So we'll come back to it. I like, for the most part, I liked the sexiness. I liked the babes. I liked the van. Mm-hmm. I liked like one kill.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like about it. You know, I think this is a movie to where, if I was of its time and it was like nostalgic for me, I probably would like it more. But in 1980, you had Friday the 13th came out, and I think that holds up tremendously better.
Oh, I agree.
It's still like a little hokey, but I don't think a lot of this stuff holds up as well.
No.
I like the badass fucking dance scene that Jamie Lee Curtis did.
The
that was
whole,
choreographed.
Well choreographed prom king and queen dance.
It was a full song too. It was like 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Like, holy shit, they just did a whole
they did
song.
A whole choreo in the middle of prom.
Thing. Yeah.
They've won king and queen of prom. Now it's time to do your choreography.
Choreographed dance.
Choreographed dance.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, do you have any more pros before we get into cons of prom night?
Let's jump into it.
Cons, before I forget, it's kind of like what the House on Sorority Row did, and maybe some other stuff from the 80s, is they don't establish your red herrings enough.
No.
I couldn't tell you who the characters were in prom night. I couldn't tell you, like, from the kids, I couldn't tell you who was doing what. I think it was a little convoluted. Like, who is Leslie Nielsen? And the killer reveal, okay, so I know that there was another person there in the beginning. Why were you trying to hide it from me as an audience member? So you're led to believe, it's convoluted, Leslie Nielsen is Jamie Lee's dad. And he was the dad of the two that were there, and the girl that died.
Yes. And he's the school principal.
And so he's the actual dad. See, I thought he had like adopted the brother and made him think that she was. So who is she then? Is she adopted?
No. There were the three kids. There was the girl that died, the son, and Jamie Lee.
And so Jamie Lee was...
Because they were walking home from school, and she's like, I'm not going to go play with your friends. I'm going home.
So
and the
I
little
missed
brother
that.
was like, I'm going with. And then she went in to play with the friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is get a little convoluted, because then you barely get, like...
You don't get time to set up who the characters are, like, and if you wanted more of the like, teen guys to be more red herrings, like, they didn't set them up as, like, they could be.
Right.
The one who got the most screen time, and maybe it's just because he stands out, is the fucking Guido guy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then, like, the killer that it's supposed to be... Mm-hmm. They're like, it was a quick brief. It was like,
so
he was a schizophrenic, disfigured schizophrenic who was a child molester.
Yeah.
And he got in a car wreck, and then he was disfigured, or then he went catatonic or some shit, and then he broke out.
Yeah, you get like 2 quick scenes of this other thing that should have been a full-flushed intro.
Right.
To where they think it's someone else that killed this girl.
Yeah, a child molester.
So there was like a child molester in the area, so they go after him. They have a car chase or something, and it crashes and he catches on fire.
Right.
And then from there he goes to a mental institution, and they just think he's the one who did it. Right. But you get that in just like a couple of lines and a couple of flashing scenes.
5 minutes. It's so quick.
So I think if you wanted to like maybe have that be more what you would think it would be, like he's the kid. I just wanted to see more of that because so much was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that part. Like it was like, wait, what? You pinning it on who? Wait, excuse me?
Yeah. And again, there's no remorse. Not a single, like, I don't remember any of these characters having remorse.
So, the one, I don't remember all the other girls' names, but Wendy, the bitchy one with the red dress and the cool car, who is just a psycho, because she's the one that was like, we're not going to the police. We're going to go to jail. But you're 10.
Yeah.
You're 10.
Yeah.
And you can be like, she fell out the window we were playing. Oh, my God. Like...
Yeah.
That's all you had to say. You're 10. Yeah. You're not going to jail.
Yeah.
And then none of those kids grew up like, if you're 10 years old and you kill a freaking friend, how, like, when you're older, are you going to be that well adjusted?
No.
I don't think you are.
And again, being 10 years old and that happening, you would have told somebody. There's no way all those 10-year-olds are going to keep your mouth shut. Like there's no way.
It's more plausible for teenagers because you're like, okay.
At least you can think and
you have
know the world.
You know the world. You know, like, oh my God, I'm going to go to, like, I know what you did last summer. Like, I'm not going to get into college, or, you know, those things are running through your head.
But when you're 10, you're scared of, like, you know, getting a spank or being grounded because you said a swear word.
Right.
And you just killed someone.
You're afraid of the dark or something, like, you just killed someone. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, I didn't like that at all. That seemed very just... Yeah. And I really didn't, besides the decapitation, I didn't like the kills.
No, all the kills sucked.
They sucked. One in the van, where her head rolled out, and then they just cut to black, and the sounds that they were making were not stabbing you in flesh sounds.
As opposed to like the House on Sorority Row, I think this score was really annoying to me. It was a lot of like droning. Where in the House on Sorority Row, they had orchestra, which was really, really cool. And the killer was very non-threatening. It was just a really thin guy in a leotard jumping around like a spider monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Not scary at all.
No. And then...
And not threatening.
And it drug on, like, kill Wendy already. I put in my notes, like, just fucking kill her already.
Was that the huge chase sequence in, like, the high school that lasted forever?
That lasted for fucking ever.
Yeah.
He wasn't scary.
The only thing good about that was, like, her face and makeup and demeanor really, like, reflected that. Like, towards the end of it, her hair was all messed up, her makeup was running, and she was scared.
Right.
So they did a good job with that, but it could have been cut down to, like, a third.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, I know I've seen it before, so, like, I knew who the killer was. But, like, when I first watched it, I was like, didn't realize it was. I thought it was the dad. I always
Yeah.
and then when I watched it again, I was like, "Is it the dad?" No, it's I always think
Leslie
it's the
Nielsen
dad.
is
It's
the dad.
fucking Leslie Nielsen.
Naked Gun is in here, and another thing this one had too that also the original House on Sorority Row had is doctors. So this was like a big thing to where like a doctor did a weird experiment or a doctor had to come in to explain something, and more so in the original House of Sorority Row, that doctor played a huge part.
A huge part
in the role in the film. But there was a doctor in the beginning of this who was like explaining some things. And I think it's because in 1978 of how successful Dr. Loomis was in Halloween. So they're like, these are the things we need in our horror films. we need a doctor for sure somewhere.
We need a mass killer. And
but
a
it was,
doctor.
what else did we watch recently? It was Happy Birthday to Me, where it was also a doctor who did something weird. Yeah, so that was, I mean, it's not a pro or a con. It's just an observation, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any more cons?
Not really. I think this one is a classic if you were there at the time, because I don't think this one holds up very well.
No.
But it sure holds up a hell of a lot better than the remake. So we'll just jump into the Prom Night remake. Prom Night 2008, directed by Nielsen McCormick, and surprisingly, he looks like the most successful director out of everyone. He went on to do a lot of really great television. He's done Prison Break, Homeland, Hunters, Criminal Minds, Evil, Lovecraft Country, Daredevil, etc. There's like a whole list. And I don't know, I think he might be one of those guys, and I'm completely speaking, I don't know anything about who he is or what he does, but I think once you establish a show, you establish a look and all that, then you can bring in other directors to just kind of come in and like, hey, I want a day off. I think he's a director that comes in when there's a tone established and he does his work, and he does good work. I've looked at the episodes he's done, and he's gotten a lot better for sure. So Prom Night 2008, the plot is dun dun dun. Donna's senior prom is supposed to be the best night of her life, though a sadistic killer from her past has different plans for her and her friends. What did you think of Prom Night 2009?
I will tell you, we're doing our
2008.
pros.
Yep.
We're doing our pros.
Yep.
My pro for this movie is Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm.
And little Scotty Porter.
So this one has a pretty good cast. It has Idris Elba, and it has, who's the guy from Forsaken? Is that his name?
Oh, no. I can't even remember his name.
Brittany Snow, who is really
Snow.
good in X recently.
Right.
Scott Porter, he's in there too. Let's see, what the fuck is his name? I don't know. It's the guy from the horror movie Forsaken.
And then he was in That Thing You Do.
Yeah,
he was Jimmy in That
It's a really
Thing
good
You
look.
Do.
He's a good actor. I don't know why he's in this. Probably for a paycheck. My pro, and I have one. There's a neat opening song. There's a cool cover of "'Tis the Season" in the opening credits when they're the best shots in the whole film where they're droning over the city. That's it. That's all my pros.
There's just literally, I have notes for all the other ones, like 2 pages, 3 pages, and this one's just Idris Elba.
Yeah, mine's like the opening song. Want to get into cons?
It was the most boring fucking movie. Like, I was having a hard time not falling asleep.
This movie sucks hard dicks.
Like,
This is like, it's on my list of contender for like, if you're compiling a list of like worst horror films.
Yeah.
Like, this is on there. If you're like, I could arguably say, I know we talked about it briefly on like our favorite horror remakes with Shannon when she was on, and we talked a little bit about like our worst ones. But for me now, this is the worst horror remake I have ever seen.
it was.
This is
so
really bad. And it's so boring. Everything is wrong with this.
It's boring.
It's like, I can only imagine if you loved the original Prom Night and saw this, how
I would be
gag
livid.
reflex. There's nothing good about it. It's PG-13. There's no good kills. The acting is terrible. The editing is bad. The directing sucks.
The killer's none of it is.
Nothing is threatening. There's no mystery. It's just like a guy kills this young lady's mom and
he was her
brother.
He was her teacher.
Yeah.
Then he became obsessed with her, and because he wanted her for himself, he killed her family.
Yeah. And then he went to jail, and then he broke out, and then he was after her, and then he dies. There was no twist at all. There's no nothing. It was like, no, not even a reveal of, I thought in the beginning that he might have been her dad, or I thought that maybe that girl was killing the people and he was trying to like help or something and got wrongly thrown into prison and he's coming out to clear his name or anything. But it was just, so this is like what I think. I think it, at best, this movie is like a 1992 Lifetime original thriller.
Yes.
And I think if you were to take any of like the shows that you like to watch, any of your procedurals, like Criminal Minds, any of that stuff, and you take the worst episode of Criminal Minds, that worst episode is better than this movie.
Yeah,
it's like
I
a
agree with
really
that.
bad procedural.
It was just so fucking boring. Like a horror movie should not be boring.
Like, what did we watch that was bad? It was the April Fool's Day remake, and I like that better than this.
That one was
At
bad.
least there was some like bad laughs in it.
Yeah, this one you don't even get like you're laughing because it's bad, or there was zero moments, there was zero laughing, there was zero. It was just
nothing.
Straight. Like I know I fall asleep to horror movies, and the whole time I'm like, stay awake. Like I have to finish this movie to write. Like
it was a task to watch this. I had to like start and stop. I'm like, oh my god, this is. I'm really and you know. I'm sure not everybody wants to make a bad movie when you're trying to make something, and I don't know the particulars of like why they did this, but it seems like there was no passion behind any of it. It seems like they had not watched the original Prom Night, tried to do anything better or different. It seemed like a job, and everyone was just like, all right, roll camera, fuck it.
Right, it's a paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy that the director went on to do better things.
He did. He went on to do Criminal Minds, apparently.
But this is a waste of time and a waste of talent. And I don't know. I would love someone to take a legitimate crack at remaking Prom Night and doing it justice.
Because that one had some fun things in it, and like it basically was just like. It's happening on her prom night, so
that's
we're
the
just
only
gonna
thing that's
slap
connected.
prom on it.
It's the only thing that's connected. It's happening on prom night. Nothing else. I don't know why a lot of these remakes they don't. I know they do modern with remakes, but it would be cool to like just go back into the 70s. Like if someone told me I was gonna remake Prom Night, I would be like, okay, well I want to go back and like make what they did in the original and like try to do it better.
Right, because then you can get more
the
gore.
70s vibe.
You get the 70s vibe.
You up the gore. You don't go back to PG-13.
No.
You go in with the MPAA as fucking NC-17 and got to cut your gore back.
Right, like this is 2023. We get to see some shit now.
Yeah.
Like in 1980, I get it. Because it's the 80s.
Yeah, so they get a little leeway with like the original Prom Night in the House, because they really did have to battle the MPAA with their kills, with their gore. Yeah, but they couldn't really have much.
But like in this one, the remake, it's PG-13.
Yeah, it sucks.
If you're going to be a PG-13 horror movie, you better be coming out swinging.
Yeah, and there are some that are great. There are some PG-13 horror films that are scary as shit.
Yeah.
And that work.
Come out swinging.
Yeah.
And that one just is a fucking limp noodle, and it's so bad.
All right. And out of all of them, I don't know. It has the worst cover art, too. It has nothing going for it.
And she's not even prom queen. She's not even prom queen. She's not even anything. It's just dumb.
It's forgettable. Don't watch it. Well, shit. Those were the House on Sorority Row and Prom Nights. You could probably tell who you think is going to win this Fright Fight. But in case you don't know, should we do a drum roll kind of thing?
Yes. And the winner of this Fright Fight is
House on Sorority Row. And halfway surprised, because I think I'd seen Prom Night twice, and I had it on the background, and I thought it was more of a classic and a lot better of a film than it was. So in my head, I'm like, well, maybe, and I hadn't seen the remake in a long time. So I kind of thought it was going to be a close race. I really did. But then the original House on Sorority Row blew me away as to, like, it was really good.
Oh, yeah. If you compare the two, that one is... Yeah. That one was way better.
And so if you haven't seen the original House on Sorority Row, check it out. It's a gem of a little slasher flick in the 80s, for sure. Yeah,
and then if you just want a run-of-the-mill, fun, quick, fast-paced, hop on to Sorority Row.
Yeah, those are cool. I'd like to see more. It would be cool to have another sorority row. I was thinking because sorority row is college and prom night is high school.
You're right.
I was just kind of thinking of like all the other ones. There's a lot of this could be a fun podcast too, just like overall college slashers versus high school slashers. And I think high school would win out. But then you have like franchises that do both, like Scream is high school, Scream 2 is college,
Right.
Scream 5 is high school, Scream 6 is college.
Right.
I Know What You Did Last Summer high school, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is college, and also resort. Or like Urban Legend 1 and 2, they're colleges, and then 3 is high school.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have some fun ones, like what college ones are there? Black Christmas is a great example of a sorority. That the original is really good.
Not the
middle remake is fine. The recent one is not good. But The Faculty is high school, so it could be like a fun do a college versus high school one. And I think high school would win out, but yeah, it's kind of cool. Or Killer Party is another one that probably a lot of people haven't seen. That's a really fun sorority run one. I made you watch that one. Or who the killer was a fun reveal.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Well, you have any more thoughts on these? Have you guys seen Prom Night, Sorority Row, and the remakes? Which one do you think is better? Do you like agree with what we're talking about? And
do you agree with our decision? Do you agree with the battle? I think that the sorority sisters had their claws out and they just tore the high schoolers up.
Yeah, for sure. and do you agree that the Prom Night remake was a flaming piece of shit?
Fucking waste of time.
Sucked. So that was fun. It's fun to watch these.
Yeah, it was.
For the most part, except for the last prom night. That was not fun. I'm going to take it back. It wasn't fun to watch a lot of these. Half of them, it was fun. The sorority rows were fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to see us do another Fright Fight? What horror franchises or horror films would you like to see us like pit together?
Yeah, give us some ideas. Give us some choices.
Yeah,
We'd love to.
Love some ideas. Love your feedback. Cool.
All right. Well, our Bloody Marys are dead.
Are they?
Yeah, I think so.
Or they will be soon. And so are we. Drink in moderation. Enjoy life and death.
Bye-bye.
See ya.